Hello again. This is Pastor Tim speaking to you from the cafe of the North Hills Community Baptist Church, hoping you're having a good week. For a few moments today, I'd like to talk about a man that you may know, at least you may have heard of him. His name is Stephen Hawking. Arguably, when he was alive, he was the smartest person on the face of this planet. He was a cosmologist, he was a theoretical physicist, he was at one time director of the Center for Theoretical Physics and Cosmology at the University of Cambridge. He did all of this in spite of his handicap. He had an interesting life. He was a normal young man up until the age of 21. In the midst of his education, he was diagnosed with ALS, which we know as Lou Gehrig's syndrome, and it began to have a continual deteriorating effect on his body. And yet he dealt with that for the next 50 years and made some amazing discoveries and incredible insights. We probably know him best from his book, A Brief History of Time. It spent over 4.5 years on the New York Times bestseller list. Or maybe you've seen the movie The Theory of Everything, a biography about Hawking and his life 6 years ago. A couple of years ago, I read a quote from Stephen Hawking. And sometimes when you read something, it immediately triggers something in you. And I want to share that quote with you. Hawking, when he was just philosophizing about all of the incredible discoveries he and others had made, he said this: "I consider the vastness of the universe and how humans are such insignificant creatures on a minor planet of a very average star in the outer suburbs of one of 100,000 million galaxies. And it's difficult for me to believe in a God that would care about us." I know this may sound strange, but the first thing I thought of was, that's in the Bible. Now, it doesn't sound like something that would be in the Bible, and Stephen Hawking isn't in the Bible, but almost his exact words are in the Bible, and you might recognize them. They come from Psalm 8, which is a psalm of David. And David, as you might remember, was a shepherd, so he's out in the open fields on a clear night, and he looks up into the sky and he says, "When I consider the works of your hands, the stars and all that's been created, I think, what are human beings that you should be mindful of us?" So it's fascinating to me that Stephen Hawking and King David, 3,000 years before, look at the heavens and reality and see the exact same thing. Hawking says, how can it be that there can be a God who cares about us? David says, how can it be in the midst of all this there's a God who cares about us? Although they saw the same thing, they come to different conclusions. David says, "But still you have crowned us with glory and honor. You have made us a little lower than the angels. You care for us intimately, always." The Apostle Paul maybe explains it best. He calls faith in some of his letters the gift of faith. And it's wonderful to have that gift and to be able to see with those eyes. So I pray that whatever we see this week and what remains of it, we'll be able to look at the world with the eyes of faith.